Johnny, worry about it. Wow. That's it. I forgot. Possible to. Okay, so
There's a trumpet.
If I get on the spectrum.
a light.
You gotta pay a premium to see
You gotta
yourself.
pay, baby.
I didn't have records for that.
You weren't here. Well, what's that?
Yeah, have a
I
battle.
also wasn't sure if I needed
You
to.
wrote him off at battle anyway.
Same thing, if I need to see his attachment. He said, it's already kind of.
Should be.
The park alongside and
He just gave three.
You guys, editing
For this
future.
But this has been. Sign up.
Sometimes people do, you know,
Okay.
No.
what's your experience? Yeah,
They usually like them on letters.
Why was this kind of like, why am I coming to that? Tenable.
that's the thing. 87. Kind of was,
Gotcha. Oh, that's fun. To be on TV.
some someone saw it now, we forget the one. Let's see.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I will call the meeting to order. And I will suspend the meeting to hear public comment first. First on the agenda is Tim Cook.
I'm here for Tim Cook.
You're here for Tim? Okay. Come on up. Just come up to the podium, please. Name and address for the record. So this is Trumbull Youth Rugby.
Hi, good evening. My name is Gary Williams, 24 Indian Road, and I'm here as part of the leadership team of Trumbull Youth Rugby. So I believe there were some questions on our event for June the 2nd. During, if I can explain, during the season we play youth rugby, so that's kids aged 9 through 14. We play about 8 teams during the season, from March through to June. And at the end of the season, and this year on June the 2nd, we're having a multi-team event hosted at Trumbull High School. So this is a conclusion of the season get-together. We typically use the term jamboree, and where we have multiple teams competing against each other and really concluding the season. So I think when Tim came for the reservations for the fields at Trumbull High School, there were some questions around whether there was a commercial aspect to this event, and I'm just here to explain tonight that there isn't. This is just a sort of an end of season, multi-team competition. Further questions?
No, and I assume that that date was cleared with Mr. King, so you have the facility over
Yes,
there.
that's
Is that the turf football field? And I know where you play behind Hillcrest there. So
Yeah, it's 14A and 14, so it's the fields that the Trumbull High School rugby normally train on. So it's between the baseball field and Hillcrest.
Right,
Yeah. And
right.
Jason.
Which I usually see you guys over there on the weekends anyway, so,
That's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Any questions? No? Okay, thank you.
So we're good. So this matter's closed.
I would think so, yeah. Yeah. We're not in the meeting portion, so we haven't voted, but it looks pretty good. Okay, next on the agenda, Carrie Ann. Carrie Ann here.
Thank you.
Teresa. Hi, Teresa.
Hi.
Hi. Just name and address for the record, please.
Teresa Ranieri, 495 Elm Street, Monroe, Connecticut.
Okay, go ahead.
Inquiring, I was invited by the board of the BMX track in Trumbull to be a vendor. I have a small mobile coffee trailer. Apparently, their concession stand has been closed for a year or two. I wasn't really sure how to become a part of it, so I reached out to the town and I was advised to come to the meeting.
Advised to come to the meeting by the recreation department.
Yeah, Kevin?
Kevin?
I have-
No, yeah, that's me.
Okay, so I emailed with you.
Yes, I said, start here just so we dot all our i's and cross our t's. But
We would have to get permitted, obviously.
yeah, you need
Town.
health department.
Yeah, we did that through the Light Ledge,
Ledge Light,
Ledge Light Department in Waterford,
We're
because
part
we're
of-
vending there.
we're part of the MOU, and we passed the health department in Monroe, but we're happy to.
Yeah, you have to come
Yeah.
to Trumbull. So,
Right.
so it's going to be, you drive in for the event and then you leave. Basically, it's a food truck.
Yeah, it's coffee, water,
Pastry.
pastry.
Okay. Dimitri, anything on this? I know they've been closed up there and just sold like prepackaged things for a while.
Yeah. I'm not sure if this is working. Yeah, I guess it is. Hi. Couple of questions. Where would you actually be setting up the food truck? Would it be within the BMX complex itself?
Yes.
That's what I thought. So Chris is.
Yes.
I get it.
Oh, yeah, we talked.
Right. So that wouldn't pose the town any difficulties whatsoever on our side about having food trucks within the park itself. It would essentially be a rolling concession stand, the same way that they've had in the past. So I'm sure that we could, again, with the commission's approval, we wouldn't have any issue with it, and I'm sure we'd easily be able to work with Chris and yourself with that to make that happen.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess the next thing to do is just go to the health department and
Get the
and
permit
Get the
to be there.
permit from there too.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And indeed, would it make a difference if they're in the gate at BMX versus out of the gate, because now it's park wide, right? That's why we're
That's why I brought it up.
Okay.
Yeah, it would change sort of the makeup of the food vendor. We would have to invite them to be within the park space itself, because they would be able to offer things to everyone.
Right.
Once it's within the perimeter of the BMX within track, it's fine.
right. Okay, okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Is anyone here from the Indian Ledge Amphitheater? Teresa was supposed to be here for that. No. Okay. That was. Carrie Ann was supposed to be here for Indian Ledge. Okay, I guess if she's not here. Are you familiar at all with what someone wants at the Indian Ledge Amphitheater? Because she said Christina from the rec department sent the email, had her email us. Nothing? Okay. Well, she's not here. Okay, so next on the agenda, pickleball. Representative from pickleball.
Hello.
I don't think that mic's on. If you hit the button down below.
Probably a good thing because I don't like to public speak.
The base. It's at the base.
Here? Gotcha. How's that? Okay. Hello, my name is Hillary Yellen. I am at 71 Scenic Hill Road in Trumbull. Thank you for putting the pickleball windscreens on the agenda for tonight's meeting and for including some of the numerous letters from players in support of the windscreens. We're going to give the planned presentation since we have worked very hard on this. However, we are very disheartened to learn that Dimitri emailed one of our players saying he will never entertain nor endorse windscreens on our courts. I have a copy of the original email and Dimitri's reply for each of you.
Can I approach and hand these out? Is that all right?
Yeah, I sent it.
No, this is, oh,
You've seen it.
Today. Everybody has it.
okay.
Oh, everyone has it. Oh, thank you. for
Great,
doing that.
okay, excellent. We appreciate the commission supporting pickleball in Trumbull as evidenced by our 20 beautiful courts in town. We have been trying to secure windscreens at Unity Park for a few years now without success and are currently requesting that the town provide windscreens on 3 of the 4 sides of the courts at Unity Park. Windscreens are a common feature in many outdoor pickleball facilities across the country, and their addition would significantly enhance the overall experience for all players at Unity. It would allow us to enjoy the courts on the many breezy and windy days, since even light breezes greatly impact our play. The town recently raised the following concerns regarding its position on windscreens. Number 1, the Parks and Recs Department doesn't have the funding to install, purchase, and maintain the windscreens. The town has collected over $9,500 from dues for social play over the past 2 years. Players were led to believe that dues collected for social play would go towards purchasing windscreens at Unity and other court maintenance. However, the monies went to a general fund and were not allocated for windscreens or any other pickleball-related expenditures. The pickleball community is willing to work with the town to raise money through fundraising tournaments or any collaborative efforts to accomplish this goal. The players are also willing to volunteer their time to assist in installing the screens, which would save the town $2,000. We received 3 quotes from the vendors for purchase and installation of windscreens, with the best quote totaling $4,407 from Hinding Tennis Courts, who installed the Unity and Tashua courts. The proposed screens would be 8 feet tall and have half-moon vents to help protect the fence from severe wind. The side facing the parking lot will not have windscreens to allow visibility into the courts for security, spectator visibility, as well as being less expensive overall. Number 2, if the town were to install windscreens at Unity, they would also be pressured to put windscreens in at Tashua and Islandbrook. Since a social club and open play take place at Unity and draw the most players, it makes sense to place the windscreens at Unity Park. The final concern was that windscreens will damage the fence in strong winds. Kim Becker, who is a USA Pickleball District Ambassador, will address this issue in detail shortly. We were surprised to learn last week that the town planted 2 rows of arborvitaes on the southern and western sides of the court fencing. After several inquiries to the town, we were not able to confirm if the 2 rows of trees were intended to take the place of windscreens. However, we were pleased when Dimitri confirmed by email last week that the trees were being planted to obscure the transmission line devastation from the utility companies. And in case the commissioners are not aware of what was planted, we have this handout for you. May I?
Sure.
I've seen it.
Okay. Okay. Let's see, where am I? Okay. While arborvitaes can provide some wind protection after many years of growth, Dedicated windscreens designed specifically for this purpose will offer more consistent and reliable wind reduction. An additional point that should be made is that with the present large gaps between the shrubs, the wind will now be funneled between the shrubs and thereby create a stronger current than with no shrubs. In addition, the shrubs are not deer resistant and the bottom several feet may be eaten by deer, which would make the trees ineffective as windscreens. I would like to invite Kim Becker to come up and speak on our behalf.
Thanks, Hillary. Hi, I'm Kim Becker. I live in Reading, 5 Woods Way, Reading, Connecticut. I'm the USA Pickleball Ambassador for the state of Connecticut, the district ambassador. I have played at Unity a number of times. I actually taught there a couple of summers ago for Fairfield County Tennis. I taught pickleball. We appreciate the Commission's continued support of pickleball in Trumbull. I have to say you're admired by many, many neighboring towns, so they're jealous of you. I was asked by Alan Hillary if I could provide some information regarding windscreens on outdoor courts. After speaking with them and others today at Unity, I went up to look at the courts again. I can tell you that they are all polite, passionate, persistent, and honestly, a little perturbed. They have been told and they felt a couple years ago that the money collected through the social club, I don't know if I have that term right, years ago, it was, he was told that the money collected would go back into the courts and in particular windscreens. He would be here tonight, but he's teaching. I've played for 12 years this sport, so I've kind of seen it grow. I've seen it throughout Florida, Georgia, Connecticut, and other areas of the country. Most outdoor courts have windscreens, and the ball is only 3/4 of an ounce, and it's filled with holes, obviously. So the wind gets a hold of this, and it's not like a tennis ball. It definitely contributes to changing the speed and the trajectory of the ball quite considerably. Many of the parks in the area have installed them, and they're quite successful there. Some of them have logos on them, but I would say the majority of towns do not put logos on their windscreens, which is understandable. When installed correctly, they do not normally damage fences and can remain an asset to the venue for a very long time. The maintenance involved is merely replacing a zip tie when it snaps off. So you have a zip tie in every one of the grommets attached to the fence, and you have, when one comes off, it has to be replaced. Otherwise, you're going to have the wind, the force being taken by the others have to take up the slack. So that's really the maintenance when it's up there, how you maintain these screens. Can they fail? Yes, they can fail. Let me just, if you can get my handouts and then hand them out. Most of the time, the research I've done through Hinding and any of his professional contacts he gave me are, thank you, are the failures are due to poor installation or faulty materials. For example, they say you should use 50-pound ties. If someone wants to put 250-pound ties, it's going to grab that fence too hard. Yeah, it'll pull the fence over. There's certain areas of the fence you should put the zip ties on, and there's certain areas you should not. So when installed correctly with the correct materials, there is a very low failure rate. I have the quote in here that Hillary mentioned. I have a copy of that in here for you, as well as the company that would be making the windscreens has a list of steps to put it up. And I also put together, after speaking with professionals in the industry, best practices for using windscreens. So overall, I really feel that Trumbull can benefit dramatically by having windscreens. The players are there to work with you, not against you. They've been wanting to do this for quite some time, and I can see it in them. I mean, they're all very passionate about this, and it's not just something pretty. It's really, it helps the game. If you play the game, you would understand. So by putting the screens up, you would improve the quality of play for all levels. increase usage, and improve the aesthetics and the comfort of the courts. You've built wonderful and a wonderful asset. Improving upon it just makes it even better. Thanks for your time, and I just have a handout for you. If you have any questions. Chat with you.
Any questions for either of the two speakers? Did that quote include installation?
It's 2,400 without installation, and Tom Hending would do it for 2,000 for installation. So total was 4,406.
Installed, 44
Yes,
installed. That
exactly.
seems like a lot of money installed. Jeez, I'm in the wrong business.
May I just conclude our portion of the meeting, if that's okay? Okay. So we'd like to thank the commission for your careful consideration to our proposal. If there's anything else we can do to resolve any remaining issues, please let us know. It is our hope that we can work together to obtain the windscreens. A special thanks to Al Schendel and Kim Becker for their research, collaboration, assistance in preparing for the presentation. And thanks to everyone who sent emails and attended this evening to show their support. In conclusion, we ask the commissioner to consider a motion at this meeting to purchase and install windscreens on 3 of the 4 sides of the fencing at Unity, which will have an immediate favorable impact on pickleball at Unity. Thank you.
I was just curious as to,
Oh, sorry.
Hillary, you said you were led to believe that the funds would be used for windscreens?
Yes.
Who said it? When was that?
That was actually based on the agenda minutes for previous meetings. It may not have been like, we promise you, but people who attended the meeting, I was not one of them. I know Al was there.
I can speak up.
Okay.
I asked when I joined Social Play last year what they were going to do with my fees, and actually I had a conversation with Vicki, and she said it would be repurposed for things like windscreens. So she directly told me that the money that I was paying for would be paid for windscreens.
Huh.
And it was discussed, there are agenda minutes, I don't have them, but it was discussed at a couple of the meetings in the past. We're just trying again.
I mean, I vividly remember that meeting with JP last year, and it was pretty much that pickleball raised their own funds, get together with Ed Ritacco, who was a member here, and try to get a discount, or not a discount, but get information from Mr. King, the athletics director at the high school, who had the windscreens put up on their tennis courts, and see if he can use that same
Okay.
vendor. And,
I mean,
and that
frankly-
was a meeting about a year ago, and I never heard
Okay.
anything since then. But there was never anything about us paying for the windscreens. It was always that they were going to raise the funds.
I mean, to be honest, we will do fundraisers. JP said he'll run a tournament. There's 800 people on the Unity Team Reach, so if everybody kicked in a few bucks, we would raise the money. We're willing to help install them. We will basically work with you in any way possible to obtain the windscreens. I don't want to say we're desperate, but even today it was a beautiful day. The courts were filled, but then the breezes always start coming in around 10:30, and it just makes it really hard to play. If anybody here has ever been on a pickleball court in the slight breezes, you would really understand. So it's just something that's really important to us. And the courts are packed every day. Every morning the courts are filled. The weekends the courts are filled. So it's not just our small group of the social club players. It's everybody. Just, like I said, we'll raise money. We'll do fundraisers. We can help install in a safe manner. We can keep eyes on the zip ties and check them periodically to make sure they're all secure. So we're willing to work with you. We do feel that some of the fees from social play would make sense to come back in our the pockets for that. But if it doesn't, then we'll fundraise. We'll do something to help get the money for it.
I have a question. Once you install the windscreens, do you have to take them out like during the wintertime, or do they stay up year round?
Do you want to answer that?
Sure.
Okay.
You don't have to take them down during the winter. Many towns around here leave them up. In Reading, personally, they did take them down, and they're putting them back up now. But there are a few towns around here that leave them up all winter. Obviously, manufacturers are going to tell you probably best practices are to take them down. But taking them down, you're just clipping those zip ties, that are just plastic, folding it up and storing it somewhere. It's just a flat screen, and then taking it out in the spring. And we were saying even in the spring, it would be a fun kickoff to have the players come and help. They can unfold the screens and, have a pizza party or something. These players are really willing to, get down and dirty with it to get it done. So I think that's
We play all
admirable.
year round. I mean, the winter, if you go there in the winter, people are wearing their several layers and they're still playing. So it's, as long as the weather's decent, we're out there, most days of the year. And the winters have been more mild too, which makes it much easier to get out, all year round.
What's the average lifespan of one of these screens?
I don't have that answer, and I apologize. I can tell you that, and again, personal information from Reading, they did have a couple of them rip last year, and I looked, and what happened was that someone had not used the grommet.
Okay, so when they do rip, who's going to be fixing them?
Well, I'm going to explain. They ripped because whoever put them up didn't use the grommet. Okay, so number one, best practices, you use the grommets. They're not going to, I'm not going to say not, but they probably will not break. If they do rip, I don't know what the repair is for it. I have seen at another court, it almost looked like sutures going down onto it, keeping it together. So I'm sure there is a repair. You're not going to just toss the $1,000 windscreen and get a new one.
So,
But
so who's going to be responsible for repairing the screens? The town?
I would assume the town would, yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Is there a guarantee on the installation? Is there like a long-term, is there a 5-year guarantee, 3-year, 1 year,
The
30
product
days?
itself comes with a 1-year full warranty.
The product.
The product does. If you have Tom Hinding do the install, I'm sure he would, I didn't ask him what his warranty would be on that, but I'm sure he would, that's his business. He's going to give you what you need he's got professionals that do this all over the country. Tom Hinding is the one, would be the $2,000 add-on for the install. If you wanted to save that and have, Park and Rec do it, or have Public Works or players do it, we can do that. We can follow the steps that I handed out. And it can be done safely. But if you want a professional to do it, which I can understand, I would definitely suggest Hinding, and I could contact him to see what kind of warranty he would give out for his installation. Happy to do that. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I did have one question. It sounded like the professional install was recommended just to make sure that it's installed correctly, that there's not issues to the fence or the windscreen. Do you know if you take it down in the winter and you have to put it back up and you want a professional to do it, would it be the $2,000 each time, or?
Again, I'll ask Mr. Hinding. I would imagine it's going to be that each time, but I believe if you do take it down, the takedown is not anything you need a professional for, but putting it back up, you could have people that have learned the process. It's not rocket science, so.
Do you know if that voids the warranty if the professionals aren't installing it?
It does not void the warranty of the material, no. I should stay up. Sorry, any other questions?
Anyone else? No. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Dee, would you like to respond?
Sure. So I think there's so many different topics here. Bear with me, my brain is going to be all over the place. I'd like to start with the idea about just the general maintenance of windscreens and why they are generally problematic for maintenance staff. Windscreens come in all different kinds of densities, weaves. They serve a lot of different purposes. I'm sure you are very familiar with that. And there are varying benefits that come from them. The greatest benefits where you're really going to be lowering wind velocity puts the greatest amount of stress onto fences. It's just like a sail on a boat. I can honestly tell you that the fencing that Tom Hinding put on those courts are not the highest gauged fencing that you would find anywhere. They're perfectly adequate, but I'm sure that if you notice, and I know you guys are down there all the time, even with the amount of play we've had over the last few years, you're starting to see a lot of the mesh start to bow, just from play, from a little wiffle ball. It's actually warping the fences. So it is not unheard of that you can overstress a fence with an additional object onto it. Using windscreens of lesser density dramatically reduces the benefit that you're hoping to actually receive. You have to get to 80% or better to actually drop wind velocity by 5 to 10 miles an hour. My understanding of my friends who play pickleball, you really can't play in any kind of wind much above 15. It just becomes too hard, regardless of changing your paddles, all the other tactics that you can do. It just becomes too challenging within that area. And so there's a very, very small incremental benefit that we could hope to achieve with the products that you could put on that fence without damaging it. So I need to sort of put that out there for just the general consumption of what this idea is. The next point, the idea that the social club was a creation to generate funds for products. I will adamantly reject any such notion as to wherever that came from, and I'll tell you why. Because I created your social club. And I will remind you why I created your social club. Because the very social aspect that I fought, along with many of you, to try to get pickleball in this community is bringing people that are from many surrounding towns. That makes pickleball what it is. We have a little issue here, and the town essentially has a residents-only requirement. The residents-only requirement means that you can purchase a parking sticker, which would be about $112 for a non-resident, and the group, because you were instrumental in getting the very first pickleball courts there, we fought together, and we didn't want to damage that community. So we had to figure out a way to not charge at full rate non-residents at $112 and still find a way to craft a time when you could all continue to play that you did. The only way that that could happen is if we created a program within the recreation department. We have the ability within the recreation department to have residents and non-residents under that umbrella to play together. And that's what we did. We fought long and hard about how low we could get the rates down. We can, talk about why we did it that way, what the thresholds were, but in the end of the day, we needed to find a way to craft a program for the social, or for basically pickleball. We came up with that name. For pickleball, the way that you guys were playing it down at Unity, that was consistent with other rec programs that have similar aspects to it. And so that's why there is a fee, so that there is a time that's allocated to you, and there's no issues whatsoever. As for whether or not that fee was going to be utilized for any other purpose would be completely inconsistent with what all of our recreation fees go to. Everything goes towards the general fund, as you mentioned. We have a revenue requirement of our department, and that every year it changes. It usually goes up, and the more successful we are with our programs, the more money goes into the revenue side of things. But we don't get to keep or pick or choose where that money goes. Every organization would want a piece of the fee. If it was basketball or Little League or whatever, everybody pays a fee, and all of those fees go back to our revenue offset, and yours is no different. As to whether, or how that was interpreted by anybody, I can't say. I really can't. I know I was there from the very beginning, and I can tell you I know what my department rules are and how we have to function and why we created that. So I wish I had a better answer as to where that rumor came from and how entrenched that's gotten into the, the consciousness of social play. But I assure you, you cannot find another program in town that has the kind of benefit you're asking for. And I don't really suspect that it would be beneficial if we started to break that open. So that's why social play exists. Questions about why am I so opposed to taking on this de minimis effort? Because it's not a de minimis effort. I can distill down everything I do to a tiny little particle and say, that was no big deal. But when you do that over and over and over again, it's a resource draw. When the wind slits, that's what you're talking about, the crescents in them. Those are inherently weak points. They serve one purpose, to let wind through, but every banner that we have has those things, and one wrong windstorm usually will attack those points and just tear it to pieces. So those become a requirement. When any organization has something that they believe is, I call them dial tone services, they must be there. Well, that puts an incredible demand on how you manage them, where you get the resources, whether it's from our own operating fund, or I guess somebody's out there with their Susie Homemaker sewing machine putting them together in Reading, I can't say. But those are the kind of things that you would have to do on the regular. Most of the windscreens have limits. So it really, I guess when you say best practices are taking those windscreens down when there's an anticipation of a wind event past a certain velocity, not throughout the winter. I've spent a good number of times getting blown off of my feet in this town in the middle of September. And if we left those up in those conditions, they wouldn't exist. So every one of those events I'm looking at as, if I'm going to care for this product that you've purchased and invested in, I have to go out there and take it down. And the very next day, trust me, if it's a sunny day, I'm going to get 3,755 different calls and emails. It's like, why aren't those windscreens up? And that requirement as a service would not be capable of being achieved by my staff. And honestly, as much as I hear you say, the willingness is there, you can't make that commitment. I mean, maybe you could say those words, but the devil's in your action. I shouldn't say that. The proof is in your action. And I've never seen any group ever, and this is not to be disparaging to you, I've just never seen it, till that level of consistency to provide a service to itself or others. So it ultimately then falls upon my department to provide you with that service. So when I look at this globally, I don't see the greatest benefit. I understand that the ball moves. I understand that it's too challenging. I am deeply unhappy that the utility company decided to make a cavern literally right over those courts, or worse than it was before. We can only do so much. I know the courts we built are probably some of the best in the surrounding towns. I know that the courts we built are by numbers greater than what you'll see almost anywhere in this area. We have, and I have, as much as I drew the line with, if you want an answer from me, the answer is no. I understand how I wrote that letter. I know I really didn't care how you interpreted it. I know what I meant. I was being asked repeatedly, over and over and over again, by different manners of questions, the same question. Why can't I have these? And I've answered it. I've answered it over and over again, and I've been consistent with why this problem is one that we can't just voluntarily accept, because I know what it's going to mean to us. when the trees got wrecked, we had to do some work about trying to screen what otherwise is just an atrocity there. I'm not going to mince words with that. So the utility companies made commitments that they were going to be doing some replanting. If you've seen some of the replanting that they've done on the Bayberry area, it's tragically insufficient. And so we, again, made the second attempt at replanting Unity Park. All the crabapple trees, all of the trees that you see up and down that alley is all efforts that we've made to remediate what the utility companies did. We never expected them to come down. The pine tree that used to be behind the pickleball courts, that was a memorial tree. I darn near had to fight myself not to chain myself to it, and there was nothing I could do about it. Pura said, "You have nothing to say," and they cut it down. The tree was never going to affect those transmission lines ever. And so that die was cast, and we had no other choice. So I made the decision again to start replanting for screening, not the kind of screening you're thinking about, but visual screening so that we don't have to look at Quarry Road. We ordered the trees, we got the trees, and it sort of coincided with this, this uptick in the windscreen discussion again. I'm like, all right. So we got together internally, got together with Steve Chapman. Steve Chapman is our chief park ranger, if you're not familiar with him, and we walked around the courts. So we have, I know you've mentioned it, some concerns about security. Any type of visual obstruction to areas where we've had problems. I'm sure you're aware of some of the vandalism that has taken place inside those courts and unfortunate altercations in and around those courts. We cannot have an enclosed space. All of our security is run essentially by a drivable patrol. We don't have gatekeepers. We don't have people walking the beat. They drive and they observe, and then they call in. So we tried to determine what line of sight, what vantage point was best going to allow our ranger patrols to be able to see what's happening in that greater space. The front space, where you generally enter the courts, obviously is key. The side, which is where our original thoughts put some additional screening there to try to reduce, some blocking and maybe some wind. I completely forgot that we are going to have security cameras, and the security cameras are going to be living out at various points within the park. But one of the vantage points that is going to be seeing the tennis court facility is out between the baseball fields. So we needed a clear line of sight. We're going to have to do a little pruning of the pine trees, but a clear line of sight once those are installed so that we can actually see 360 degrees around that space. So Steve said they could make do if we planted some stuff on the other side of the parking lot. They had sufficient visibility to see the courts. It's like, if you say so. And so we just, instead of planting them even tighter along the backside, we spaced them out. They're spaced 4.5 feet on center. Those arborvitaes in a short period of time will completely fill in, both for a visual screen, and I do believe that they will add a benefit to you without adding the additional burden of actually having to maintain anything. I'm charmed by some of the the responses that the deer are going to eat it and 1,000 other things, and those are easier things for us to actually manage if it was actually an occurrence. I don't have deer there. I have bobcat down there, so I'd be more worried about the bobcat than I would be about the deer eating the arborvitae. But the long and short of it is that I have never been your enemy as a group. I've been your supporter as a group. I met with JP and company standing out in the middle of that parking lot at the beginning of COVID, and we started talking about what we were going to do and how we could do it. And I think we were tremendously successful at achieving that goal. I'm sorry if not my reluctance, my insistence that this is too much for us to bear without taking on more problems is difficult to hear from me, or in maybe the manner in which I've expressed it. If you've taken my words as an offense, I'll apologize for that. I cannot apologize for what I know to be true. I know what my colleagues in other towns go through. It's very real. You know, it's like, zip ties. Well, now a crew has to go out there and put up more zip ties. And it tore down again, and more. They go back out again, and they go back out again. And that precludes that, you know, some mischief doesn't happen and somebody takes a box cutter to it, or spray paints it, or worse. So that's where I'm coming from. Maybe this was probably the best way for you to hear what's going on in my head, but it's not frivolous and it's not mean-spirited. It's logistical, and I think that we can get to a point where the quality of your play will incrementally improve regardless. But that's pretty much it. I mean, if the commission has any other questions for me, I'd be more than happy to answer it.
I have some copies of minutes from last meetings that I'd like to just read to you that have to do with items that were mentioned at minutes. Sure. Thank you. And I think we also have to not always be worried about what can happen. We can get hit by a bus when we walk out today, but we hopefully are not going to. But the minutes from May 2022. Mr. Favoretto appeared on behalf of local pickleball players to request the installation of windscreens to reduce wind interference. He stated he contacted a vendor and was given a quote of $8,000 to $10,000, so we got a bargain. He also asked the commission to consider installing signs to deter the use of courts for activities other than pickleball, blah, blah, blah. In that same meeting, there is currently no funding for windscreens for pickleball. The department can send out an RFQ and request a special appropriation, or the pickleball club can fundraise to purchase the screens. This is May 2022. June 2022, Mr. Rataco, I believe that's who you mentioned, Kevin, has been in touch with Mr. Favoretto regarding windscreens for the pickleball courts. He provided Mr. Favoretto with vendor contact information. Mrs. Walsh was asked if it will be the responsibility of Park and Rec to install them. Mr. Paris answered that there should be a clear agreement in place between the group and the town regarding installation, maintenance, removal, and storage. So you weren't really against it then. Can I just finish the minutes and then?
Go ahead.
August 2022, Ms. Barker appeared as a representative for Mr. Favoretto, who's appeared at previous meetings. She presented a request that sponsorships be allowed on the inside of the screens. That was for logos. Mr. Jacobson spoke in support of the windscreens and requests for advertising. Mrs. Walsh asked Mr. Paris about installation and storage of windscreens if the group purchases them. Mr. Paris notes there is a way to work with the pickleball group to maintain the windscreens and courts. It goes on and on. I mean, I went through all your minutes and I searched for the word pickleball and the word windscreens, and it's been going on for a long time, and this is the first that we've heard this really emphatic no. And the other thing I want to mention is that you don't take windscreens down when a strong wind is going to come. I mean, there is no town in the state of Connecticut that I know goes out there and does that. The zip ties are meant to break in a windstorm and not pull the fence down. And then, yes, you have to go back and install zip ties. Is it difficult to do? No. Is it a little time consuming? Yes. But again, when you have a windstorm, you're going to have trees and branches you got to pick up too. So yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Paris.
It's fine. I don't know how to respond to something where you're actually telling the truth but kind of glossing over the reality of your words. Yes, if there is a windstorm, I have to go out and actually go clean up that storm, not put back up your windscreens or wherever those screens may show up. I'm trying to draw a line that this particular request is unnecessary in terms of what the actual return on it will be, and the return will be, and the effort that has to go into it and maintain and manage it will fall completely on my department. Ultimately, it will fall completely on our department budgetarily when they fail. Those are the things that I'm pushing back on. I do not, I think we've heard comment over here. It's like, it's a few zip ties, and it costs $2,000 to put it up, and that has, it is a tangible amount of money, and it also represents a substantial amount of time. I can't afford to just volunteer that to you. Our department has evolved over time. Our department is an amalgam of many departments now, and none of the main responsibilities have diminished. I'm sorry if I'm being blunt saying that your request in the hierarchy of things that I have to do on the regular isn't at the height that I think you would all like it to be. But that is my point. Do they take those down? They do not. Do they get damaged? They most certainly do.
Sometimes.
And when they do, somebody's paying for it.
Yes, and I agree with everything you said, but I think I'm hoping the commission will understand that this is the right thing for the pickleball players. We're not asking for something crazy, and I believe, with all due respect, I believe a lot of what he has said is an exaggeration. I've done the research. I've played for 12 years. I've played in many different states, and this is the first I've ever heard some of those statements from towns, from private clubs, etc. So I thank you for your time. I hope the commission sees it as something that's worthwhile, because the players are very much behind this and have been for 2 years now. So.
Go ahead, Colin.
Do you have an idea of a number of other surrounding towns that actually have windscreens?
You know, I had it, and because I emailed all my counterparts in other towns, and I don't have it in front of me. I can tell you, Reading has it, Campo has it,
Monroe.
Monroe. Yeah, you guys probably know better than me.
Shout out, what is everybody?
Fairfield.
Fairfield definitely has them.
play in any of those towns?
Yeah.
Or can we speak, or can you get the information from their rec department on the install? What has that looked like? And when do they install them? What has the maintenance looked like? Has there been any breakages during these storms that we've had lately?
I would
What
love
does
to
that
do
look
that.
like? Like to get this, let's get this.
Yep,
statistics
I will do
on
that. I will
what
make
exactly it looks like to maintain
I'll make a
it.
spreadsheet up with who I've contacted in what town, and kind of answer those questions. When they put them up, how much time, how much money it takes to put them up. Have they ever failed miserably to the point they have to be replaced or repaired, other than just a zip tie?
Just for me to be transparent, as I'm sitting here, that's just what I'm thinking about. I feel like there's a gray area. Like the install seems like the easy part, but the maintenance is what I'm hearing you say. And it just seems like it would be a lot left on the Parks Department to be responsible for. And so no one's really saying, what does that really look like? So what does it look like to maintain it? How has it been, how have they been upholding? And also, would your department or would your team be willing to continue to raise money to maintain, these windshields and something like that? So I don't know.
I would be happy to put that together, very much so. Kind of your neighboring towns in the area. I don't know a lot about, way out up north, east, but definitely in Fairfield County area, I can get all that data to you. I'd be happy to.
I have a question. Like, how windy does it have to be for it to really disrupt the game?
Do you guys know how many miles per hour does it, like today we were playing and,
I
kind of use a rule of thumb. You hit double digits, whether 10 miles per hour, you're going to have difficulty. And you're saying, people that won't play at 15 miles an hour. I won't come at 15. I'm not coming at 12, 13 miles an hour. We can play, but it's not, okay. Now, with the windscreens,
Then don't
it would
play.
make it completely different. You've got the ability, you're catching another 4 or 5 miles per hour. The benefit of playing within that 15 mile per hour zone, between 10 and 15. When we hit 10 miles per hour, I look in the morning and I go, what else do I got to do today? Quite honestly. Sure. Okay.
It doesn't even have to be sustained, it can be just gusts.
yeah, the gusts are
That's
the
a
tough
borderline.
one.
That's the key. Can I ask a question just for clarification, and I appreciate your statements and explaining certain things. By the way, my name is Sid Honig. I am one of those, I need that, no one ever tells me that. All right. I am one of those non-residents that you refer to. I've been playing with this group since way before the courts were here. Okay, I was there when, if anybody knows Dan Pechdahl, brought Vicky Tesoro, and that was the beginning of putting in the courts. And I thank you for letting
What's your wife's wedding? What's your wedding? So, yeah.
you.
Brad Bechtel.
Yeah, okay.
And what's your wedding?
Not mine. But okay. Okay. The question I have is the maintenance the issue, or is it in that you do not have the manpower, or is it the cost of the maintenance?
Both.
Both.
It's both.
If we were able to help defray that cost of maintenance, if we raise the funds, does that make a difference?
All right. So, you may be, you can never prove a negative, I've been told. And so for me to say that you will not live up to that obligation is me betting against the possibility that you will. But I've never seen it. And there's nothing that I can hold you accountable to.
Well, then you wouldn't have to do it.
Well, that's not true. What generally happens is that I don't know how many people on Team Reach or how many people that are part of the social club. I think the social club is 140 right now, I think.
Okay.
Overall, all inclusive. Of the 140, will you represent a workforce and a resource that would pay for them and go out every year and put them up and take them down and do all that good stuff? I personally wouldn't count against that, but when it doesn't happen, or when they are damaged, I will be asked.
Why aren't they there?
That is right, and then somebody's going to tell me to go cut that check.
No, what I'm getting at, and if I talk out of turn, I apologize. I know residents here, been playing as long as I have, that will not spend a nickel towards the membership fee. They do not play at Unity. We miss them, okay? If nothing happens, I'm not sure why this group and the other 138 people, if they have a reason to spend the current money for the social membership. So what I'm saying is if at 140 people, and if you took $20 each, there's enough to install and temporarily maintain for however long. I'm just saying, I'm only asking the question. I'm not committing. I can't.
And I want to respond to you. Okay. They're fair questions. The point is that I know that a lot of people have never wanted to participate or pay for that, and they've gone elsewhere. As I started off by saying, the only reason that social club exists is to allow so that non-residents, and that is not a disparaging term, non-resident to me.
I get it.
Don't have to pay $112. If every non-resident got a $112 parking pass, I would never have this program. There would be no reason to. You can all do whatever you want to do like you do elsewhere. It's just walk on play. We don't have gatekeepers. We're not collecting tickets. It wouldn't be necessary. It was only because there was so much pushback that it would be further damaged by the loss of non-residents who are participating. We needed to find a way to artificially allow it to continue. That was the only way we could, honestly.
So what you're doing, in a way, is restricting the non-residents to just play at Unity and not the others, the other two parks, unless they pay a parking fee.
I think the commission could speak, more specifically about the residency, non-residency requirement here. The point is that if you pay a fee, whatever that number
and I'm
is.
okay with however it falls.
No, I understand.
I have a parking fee.
I just want to say, I think we should get back on topic on windscreens.
Well,
Because that's-
but
I think-
it was
but
for
I-
the funds.
But I think we're willing to, there's 800 people on Unity on the Team Reach app, so we can easily raise the money. That's
That was
not
my point.
Yeah, raising the money's not the issue. The issue is, will you allow us to have windscreens on our courts? That's the issue. We can raise the money, no problem.
You mean our courts?
Tournaments, fundraisers on your courts.
No,
We feel
our
like they're our
courts.
courts because
I know that.
we're there
take pride in them.
we're there 7 days a week playing.
I
That's the
understand.
thing, there's screens at the Little League fields, there's screens at the tennis courts, and you can see how passionate we are, and this is something that we really want, and we want to work with you to make this happen.
I understand. Little League.
It's frustrating.
So the Little League, for example, okay, they have reasons why they want them. They put them up. They fund them themselves, and as an
We'll do that. We want to
How
do
can
that.
you commit to doing that? Who are you as a organization? Who is the touch point?
You are
Where
not a,
is the?
you are not a 50. You're not a 501c corporation. You can't. You don't have insurance for yourselves. You're just a group.
But there's
And no, and it doesn't fall into our tier system of how things work throughout the park system.
How does Little League
Then Little League can do it.
They have a 501c3 and they take care of everything. They have insurance and everything for things like that.
Charge them for everything you do.
No.
Little League. Yeah, actually we do. You do. Charge them for everything.
Yes. Yeah. And they have insurance to take care of issues like this.
That was something else I was thinking about, in terms of like, you all are saying that, you as a team would help put up the, windshields, but then what does that look like in terms of liability for, like Trumbull, if somebody got hurt while putting up the screens? Is that a liability for the town? You know, like, that's something else I was thinking about. It would be up.
Yeah, it wouldn't be their fault, it'd be our fault.
I mean, you can feel free to speak.
Yeah.
No, I have a question. How come all these towns all over the place can do this, and Trumbull somehow it's impossible, and the town is inadequately prepared to put up pickleball screens? But states, towns, I've played in many places as well.
Well, just answer me this question. How come other towns have 2 courts and we have 20?
But we're not asking you to put up on 20.
Right, but.
We're asking you to put up on one court.
In all the hundreds of emails that you sent me over the last 2 weeks, the first line thanked the commission for putting in all the 20 courts. It wasn't this commission. It was Dimitri that did that. He would come here and tell us those courts were going in. We never approved those courts. That was all on Dimitri. So to think that Dimitri is against you, you should thank him for those 20 courts.
And I think they all recognize that. I mean, the emails that have gone on recently, the one that was brought to your attention today, was just very disheartening. And yes, we understand that Dimitri was behind building all the courts. I am friends with JP, so I've kind of seen it all grow through the last couple of years. I'm sorry. Okay. And we do thank you for that, Dimitri. And I think you are the envy of many towns with it. But along with your courts comes making the venue even better for your players. A little bit safer. For example, today with the wind, it stops the ball so quickly that you're kind of lunging for it. And people who aren't in great shape, it's not great for them. So to reduce that wind a little bit is going to make the play more enjoyable, probably safer for some of the players. So yes, thank you for the courts. The courts are amazing. And again, you're the envy of many towns, but we would love now to improve your asset.
Dimitri, if, trying to have some compromise here, if they 100% funded the screens the installation to your, approval, agreed to fundraise for the continued maintenance of, and taking them down and putting them up every year and storing them. So it's all on them. However, if there's vandalism, if there's a tear, if there's graffiti, we take them down and they don't go up again. That way it's all on them, financial and labor. And basically the town has no expenditure financially or manpower unless we have to take them down because they're not reaching their end of the bargain or they've been damaged.
That's what we were talking about before, though. Who's them? Like, who's the liability issue? Who's them? Like, we have people from Fairfield, Reading.
Well, I think right now he's just talking them being the financial person. Yeah. So
gonna-
them doesn't matter. I could take it out of my pocket today and give it to you. You know, it doesn't matter.
I was going to ask Colin and Rodney this. You know, for your teams, parents have booster clubs, right? Is that something only schools do, or could community groups form a booster club? You know?
I would have to defer to a lawyer, but I'm pretty sure any group this size could form a 501c3 with proper insurance and a lead representative. Another thing to add to Kevin's point.
That does take a while, though.
I have to say, I'm the president of the Fairfield County Pickleball Club, and we're a 501c7, actually, which is more appropriate. 501c3 is for a charity that's going to be giving money back to whatever. 501c7 is a social club. It took us about, I don't know, I'd say 2 months with some legal documents and some upfront fees. And we are, in fact, the state of Connecticut, we're a 501c7. So can it be done? Yes, very good question. Thank you. It's not typical in the pickleball world, and maybe that's just because we're new, you know, in this. We're not the basketball players or the Little League of yesteryear. Can it be done? Yes. And I think where the money comes from at this point doesn't matter, because I could write the check or we could all chip in and all of our friends. But if you're the way you're speaking, Kevin, I think we'd be the wallet. We'd be giving you the money to do whatever you need to do to get them.
No, I'm just saying you're the wallet and the manpower. You're everything.
Oh, well, if we're the
only
manpower,
thing
then I don't know if we can be without insurance and everything, right?
Right, there had to be some sort of written agreement.
Right, but this company, he's going to have insurance.
Oh, he will, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I say manpower, they're put up professionally or to the correct specifications per Mr. Paris. They're taken down, they're stored by you, they're put back up again professionally or to someone who has learned from this gentleman per the specs of Mr. Paris, and there's no manpower expenditure and no financial expenditure on our end.
You wouldn't even have a place to store them? We'd have to put them in someone's house?
No. Just throw them in someone's basement or attic, jeez.
Oh, yeah, JP said they were going to be able to put them in the dugouts. They reached an agreement when he was working on this about storing them there. I'm sorry?
Talking about baseball dugouts?
Yes. Where there's a locked area?
Or the shed over by.
Oh, I'm sorry, the shed?
When you first come in on the right, there's the garage.
So you've reached an agreement?
No,
I'm asking a question. My apologies. That you've brokered an arrangement with Little League to store the nets in there.
That's not correct. JP said when he was working on this for the past couple of years or 2 years ago, that was one option that was put out there as a possibility for storage of the windscreens.
I have a question, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, I just been reading all the emails today as well, right? And so, could you possibly, I'm just throwing this out there, with the guy that's putting up the windshield, right? Does he offer a program where he would maintain, like do the maintenance on them? So come out once every 2 weeks and check to make sure that they don't need to be tightened or anything like that, and where he could charge your group a maintenance fee of maintaining?
I don't believe he would. He builds courts, basically. He was doing this sort of as a, I'll get the quote for you guys, and if you want me to install, it's an extra $2,000. But I don't think he would put that into his repertoire.
Like a service that would,
Like a service.
almost like a sprinkler system.
Yeah, or a
Or just
pool
serv-
service.
like the pool guy.
Yeah.
Someone that's gonna come and make sure that it's working properly every 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, I don't believe he would, and I'm not aware of any companies that do that, because usually park and rec departments, for the most part, everyone in this area, it's handled by them, so.
Would we be able to hire a lawn service that might be able to do this for us? They're licensed, they'll be all set, they have the manpower. We could come up with some arrangement that might work there. Probably people know somebody who works in the lawn landscape
They're insured
business.
and everything.
They're insured, they're all set, they could do the work, and there'd be some cost to it, but it'd probably pretty reasonable.
I'd just like to say one more thing. All these ideas are great. We'll do whatever it takes. It's incredibly unorthodox for us to have to foot the entire bill and the maintenance and everything.
And be charged for social
Why
club.
can't we just maybe work together to try to, even if we do 3/4 and you guys do 1/4, it will almost be like a
Good faith effort.
something. I was thinking something like people would laugh at our town,
Oh.
knowing that we didn't get any help at all. Just even if you could just throw us a bone, a little bit of help. It's just silly that we have to pay for.
It seems like you've gotten quite a bit of help. You've gotten 20 courts, and not just the courts, but the maintenance of the courts and the fencing and the fact that we took courts away from tennis players.
Courts are not maintained. We bring our own squeegees to clean the courts, and I emailed Noreen about the straps that were broken on the Toshawa courts, and it was on order, there was a back order on that, so nobody's coming around and looking at the courts at all.
The nets are all about.
Okay, all right. We need to get this
Yeah.
meeting moving
right.
here. It seems to me that it's an all or none. That's an all or none proposal, pretty much.
I mean,
If that's even something that's acceptable.
Are you asking me?
I am.
I'm skeptical that the organization could, in fact, create themselves a 501(c)(7) if that is the correct designation, so that we could charge, so that you could actually do what you're proposing. That's going to take a little bit of work, and if that were to happen, that changes some of the dynamics around it. Once you're in that situation, you would have the ability to generate funds. You would have the ability to enter into an agreement with the town officially instead of a handshake. That is what I'm trying to avoid. I'm not saying that anybody is dishonest here. I've lived this with so many other well-intentioned groups over the years. Been here a long time, and it generally follows the same path. I'm trying my best. I'm sorry that what I'm saying to you is not what you want to hear. That's just the simple truth.
What you asked, I would like to get back to the commission if I could with that data, which I think might be very interesting to you all, and perhaps that's something if you want to table this and wait for that data to come in. I think you all should know what other towns do. We all like to think we're doing it the best way possible, but we can learn from each other. So maybe if you see what each town is doing, and I can give you the person's name I spoke with, what the data is that came out of it, how much it costs, do they take it down in the winter, where do they store it? I'll get whatever pieces of information you want and let you chew on that.
Let me just throw one last thing out, and I'll stop. There are no two Parks and Rec departments that are the same anywhere. The makeup and the responsibilities that go to each one of them. If I go to Anthony out in Fairfield, he's going to tell you these are the things that drive him crazy. My world has different responsibilities. Every one of them is, as I said, an amalgam of different responsibilities and what they do. And some do better than others, and some do lesser than others. And they all do more or less the best they can. It's an unfair comparison. And by the way, there's not a lot, at least in my experience, of, windscreens up. Just in general with a lot of communities. It's How many communities have post-tension concrete courts? You like
Most
these?
of them do now.
You'll have to tell me where those are, because Fairfield
Reading.
hasn't got a one. And how many do they have in Reading?
Reading, we have 2. Oh, I'm sorry, we have 4 tennis courts with 8 hybrid pickleball courts on them and 2 dedicated pickleball courts. They're all post-tension concrete.
So you have 1/10 of what we have here in Reading.
No, oh, I totally know that
But
you
that's
guys
my
have more.
point. And so, when we say that there's nothing that happens with those courts, there's no maintenance, I have to blow the leaves off those courts. I do tons of things with every court, with every space of every park, everywhere.
Okay. I don't want to
and
take any
that's
more
the
of your
point.
time because I appreciate, and you're all volunteers, I know that. I just think you might do well to see what other towns do. I don't think you should operate in a bubble, and I don't think you want to operate in a bubble. So I would get that information for you, very, very happy to do so. And you just say the word, and I'll get on the phone tomorrow with all of them. Okay?
Is anyone interested in that information? Okay. No, I don't think it's going to help you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes or no?
Yes or no?
Yes. Is that a yes or a no?
No one was interested.
No one was interested in that information.
Thank you for trying.
Okay, moving back to the meeting. Do I have a motion to return to the meeting?
Just leave.
John, okay, second? Right, all in favor? Yeah.
Still have, I just have one.
My name's Maggie, Mulcahy, 9 Aragon Drive. I'm here to formally request the approval of I'm here with Trumbull Youth Lacrosse. I'm here to formally request the family picnic on May 31st at Indian Ledge Park, 5:30 p.m. to about 9 p.m. I believe our president submitted a form for that.
Oh, are you representing Carrie Ann then?
Is that Carrie Ann? No, I'm representing Matt Baglio. Yes.
Okay.
Poor Carrie Ann.
No, because someone needed the Indian Ledge Park as well.
Oh, the amphitheater.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's, I guess, different.
Okay.
So we have this every year. It's an end-of-season family picnic, and it's just a great time for our teams that have played all season to get together, have some fun, get a food truck, ice cream truck. We do have like a parent and athlete game that's usually really fun. I usually blow out my ankle at that point. And I just wanted to get formal approval. The only thing that changes this year is we are hoping to get a dunk tank. I think a lot of the athletes would really like to see me go under. And so we're shopping
What was the date?
the possibility around.
What was the date? What was the date of that again? I'm sorry.
May 31st. It's a Friday.
And did you check that with Rec to see if that's available? Did you check? Because we don't know the schedule of what's available there.
Well,
Did you-
we checked it with the RAC. Matthew Baglio, the TYL president, already formally put in the form requesting it with the request for porta potties, lights, all of that type of stuff, right? So it's already been put in request via paperwork. I'm just here to formally request that we can get approval in person.
Okay. And what?
And the dunk tank. That's
Yeah, I was going to say that. So Kyle Griffin actually reached out to me and had mentioned that because TYL's done this for years, but the request for the dunk tank needed to be discussed here. So that's why.
This is the first year we are requesting the dunk tank.
Yeah.
Right. Have we had a request for dunk tank before? No. I would think that the company that rents the dunk tank either would make you take out a policy or they have a policy that's included in with that rental.
Right. And they have an attendant there that's, keeping everybody in line and everything like that. overseeing the use of the dunk tank being properly
Okay.
utilized. They typically drop it off, and then the next morning they pick it up. So we
Right.
would ensure that it's emptied beforehand. So,
And
yeah.
what part of Indian Ledge was this?
So this is Indian Ledge on the turf fields and over in front of the amphitheater, the grass fields around there.
Both those areas? You need
Yeah,
the turf field
we usually
and?
just run around on the grass, but the turf is what we play on.
No,
and the
okay.
parking lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's play and picnic?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
None of that's new.
No.
They've done this
Okay.
for a good long time. I think the only
I don't
question.
think I don't think they've been here before to
No, we've
request
always
that.
managed it. I think what's
It's the dunk tank.
It's the dunk tank and how that works and where you get the water and all. How
Right.
does that the
What does it
logistics
look
of that?
like?
Well, yeah, it's something new that I wouldn't have the slightest idea how that's dealt with. So
Right.
Kyle brought it to my attention. You've managed that event well for many years. The food trucks all that stuff is great. That's easy, and we just deal with it internally. I don't know how you do a dunk
Are
tank.
you the only one using it? Like actually going on the dunk?
Oh, me? No, I think. Depends on if it gets approved here tonight. I might be signing up for a couple hours in a dunk tank. I think we wanted to give all of the student athletes in Trumbull the opportunity to dunk all of their coaches, equal opportunity dunking. I think it's something new. I think it would be something fun that spices up the family picnic a little bit. I don't think we would be flippant about it. And I just, we are shopping around the cost. We are shopping around, but from what I'm hearing, the majority of it, there will definitely be an attendant. The company that we wind up agreeing to, if you guys approve it, we will make sure that they have, liability and all of that kind of stuff so that it's not on the town. And we will make sure that the tank is emptied before, if they have to pick it up in the morning.
Right,
I
and-
wouldn't want to leave an
and
unattended
that
tank.
may not be such a far-fetched inquisition with Dimitri about how do you fill it with water? Is there water over there, or do they pump the water in from a truck that they bring it with?
Right.
Well, we were just going back and forth about the logistics. So, short of that, I mean, if the commission and if Cross is amenable to this idea, get me the logistics on how that works. Because
what it
where
looks
am I
like.
getting water? How do you get rid of the water? Are you dumping it into lawn? It's all of those kind of things, and see if we can work out a solution. If there is any liability issues, does the company have policies that address all of that?
Right. What does it look like?
Yeah. If there's no red flags to the commission, I'm more than happy to unravel that next door with the organization. If there's something that we just can't work around, then we'll just say, well, let's put a pause on that. If all of the pieces are there, if you got insurance, there's liability, umbrella, they take care of whatever materials they need, and breakdown. I don't see personally that there's any issue. I'm assuming you're going to do it on the paved area.
Right.
Yeah. Let's just see what it
And
looks like.
Matt Bagler should have those specifics because he's on the Fathers Club at Booth Hill, and we have a dunk tank every fall festival. So I'm
Do
sure.
you?
Matt,
What
I'm
does
sure
it look like?
I stay far away from that, but I'm sure
No,
Matt
that's
knows
great.
more, like where the water comes from. Where's it
No,
going.
and that's great. And the,
Yeah,
bo-
let me know.
the Board of Ed
No, that's
certainly
great.
isn't going to do that unless they've checked everything.
Oh, that's
so-
fine.
Right.
Okay,
So-
that helps, yeah. Especially if he uses the same company.
I said Hillcrest has one as well. They do a dunk thing at the end of the year.
Okay.
I mean, not Hillcrest, at Daniel's Farm.
Okay.
Well, then
All right. That's good. That's good to know. Okay.
I can
Thank
make
you.
that work.
Yeah, it's it. Okay,
You're good.
thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back to our meeting. Acceptance of minutes. Does anybody have any additions, deletions, or corrections to the monthly minutes of April 2024? If no, do I have someone to make a motion to accept them? Rodney, seconded by John. All in favor? He abstains because you weren't here, right? Okay. Correspondence. There's quite a bit of correspondence. I'm not going to go over each one. Yeah, well, there was correspondence to Abby from Rugby and this Carrie Ann Nelson from Indian Ledge Amphitheater who did not come tonight. I received correspondence from Teresa Ranieri from BMX Food Vendor and Hillary Yellen from Pickleball with many emails from Pickleball as well. That's it. Yeah, well, I'll bring that up. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and there, yes, the other correspondence was a gentleman pointing out that there was a dirt pile in the parking lot over at Tashua, and another pointing out that there was a increased slope walking down to the pickleball courts at Tashua and was looking for railroad ties. I did send those out to you guys. Okay, so you got those. Okay. Okay, old business. Is there any old business we need to bring up? No old business. Okay, on to new business. So, number one, BMX, the food vendor. It seems pretty cut and dry. Basically, it's a food truck that's going to be inside the park, so it's going to be solely for BMX, and we don't have to worry about them selling to outside people. So does anybody want to make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion.
Second? Okay.
Well, I think we should add make a motion to approve the BMX vendor as long as they stay within the BMX area.
Space.
Oh.
And have all the proper health.
And all the proper permits and health requirements, which can be pretty daunting.
Yeah, these days.
From what I remember with my son's concession.
Okay, do we have a second on that? John, any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, so moved, unanimous. Next, rugby. They were looking for their June 2nd event. He pretty much said it's not much different than what they've had in the past. So if anybody want to make a motion on that.
I'll make a motion that rugby be allowed to do their June 2nd event. Was it June 2nd?
Trumbull High School.
At Trumbull High School.
Jamboree.
Their rugby jamboree. I'll tell you, I jog over there on the weekends. They're packed and they're howling. They're having a great time over there. Rugby's really taken off.
9-year-olds playing rugby.
Yeah, they have all age groups, and they're really hooting and hollering over there. It's great to see, and the other towns come in. Okay, second, we have a second on that. Bruce, oh, sorry, Deb, we got to get you in the minutes somewhere. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, so moved. Okay. Trumbull Lacrosse, May 31st, dunk tank. Picnic, which is their annual, and we have not had any previous problems with them. They're here requesting a dunk tank on top of their annual picnic that we have not had a motion on before. Anybody have a motion on basically the dunk tank?
I'm recusing myself from this as well because I'm on the board.
He's on the board. Okay, good.
I make a motion to approve the dunk tank if they get the proper insurance. Or once Matt Baglio comes back with the proper specifics, I'm for it.
Right, proper specifics okayed by the park superintendent, yeah.
Fine with me.
Okay. Second? Deb's got her second in. All in favor? Okay. Next, pickleball. Yeah, there's really nothing to discuss. I mean, if they want to come back with their, what is it, 507?
501c3.
That would open up more discussion.
I think that would be a huge problem for them because all their out-of-towners and then be subject to all the fees that go along with organizations.
Yeah.
Half their organizations would be out of towners, and then
No, this isn't for, this wouldn't fund.
it would.
It would. That was the first thing I thought
It
of
would.
when they, yeah.
They would be part of that field use.
Yeah, 100%. And that would go
That's correct, because if they fall under field use, then they have to pay a usage fee on top of everything.
Bring that up.
So there's no way for them to raise money to put these windscreens?
No, there is.
Oh, there's a way.
I don't think it's the.
It's gonna cost them triple.
To put them up, I think it's the maintenance of maintaining them is the issue.
I would.
Two words.
Fell down, put it back up for another.
Other towns do have windscreens, right?
Some do. Some do. The bottom line for me is it's always drowning by the drop. I know my limits, and I know the kind of demands, and I think you've gotten a sense of the makeup of this organization, and they're very demanding. I just got the call yesterday that the infamous center straps that are surprisingly missing on some of the nets showed up. And those calls come in pretty regularly. Where are the center straps? Where are the center straps? Where's my center straps? They were there, and it's a park system where activities happen. And there is little patience all the way around for things of that nature. But we order them. It's a purchasing process. We get them, and then let me see. We're in the midst of trying to get pools and OSHA compliance and 1,000 other things. I've got to be able to carve somebody out to go out and measure and put in center straps. How hard is it to put in a center strap? It's not, except when you put it together with all of those other things.
I'm just trying to remember, because we've had tennis courts for a long time. So we've never had windscreens on them, right? Any of them? I mean, except with the exception of Trumbull High School.
There are windscreens now at the high school, and you know what? There's a nice big hole right in the middle of it. I just noticed that 2 days ago.
They are expensive. Most of the organizations that put them up, they don't do the best of jobs. Okay, they're there. I can't speak to really where their passions lie, because that's a fool's errand as far as I'm concerned. I just know that they want them. They think it's going to make a substantive difference in their enjoyment of the game. I think that's what they're putting forth pretty regularly, and that's what they want because that's what they want. I don't really want to continue to run this program. I don't see that there's actually a reason to. Buy a parking pass, and we resolve all of those issues. And you could do whatever you want as residents. You could take out a regular permit like people do at Island Brook or at Tashua, and all of the expectations beyond that are gone. But we're where we are today. That was the request. We wanted to maintain this bubble. I think they're dismissing that at their own peril. They have fought to maintain this group, resident and non-resident, and we have worked tremendously hard. I mean, when registrations open up next door, I should honestly, take them out for happy hour after that day, and the next day, and the next day, and the constant changing of permits that they want to do on the regular to manage this social club. They're high maintenance as an organization, and we don't have to put that kind of effort into other organizations. I am looking at the behavior of this organization as part of my reluctance to want to embrace, I solemnly swear that I'm going to do the right thing. Well, some people I feel more comfortable making that arrangement, and other people I have other experiences with. This is just an interesting group of people. We have, and thank you, all of you, for making comments that, and it's not just me. Believe me, there are there's been a lot of heavy lifting from Vicky, from our council members, from our board. We've spent a lot of money, a lot of money, and there's not a lot of money to go around in this town. I'm not gonna, get the pat on the back. I've just been sort of the face for trying to get pickleball going. So many people have worked really, really hard, and I think it's paid off. I'm proud of it. I really am. I've said that to this group time and time again, and I'll continue to do that. But there's a point. There's just a point where you're kind of asking for more than you need and more than we can supply. And that's been the message that I've been trying to put out there. I get exhausted. You've all seen the emails. I mean, it's whatever you've gotten, I've gotten all of those. The rec department has gotten them. The administration has gotten them. The director of public works has gotten them. The treasurer of the town has gotten them. I'm quite sure that some of our custodians have gotten letters. I mean, everybody has been carpet bombed with the attempt to manage this particular outcome by whatever means possible. And it's been exhausting and unfortunate that a lot of good people are sort of going along for a ride, in my opinion, to demand and essentially hold us all hostage. That's what it's been like. Nobody's been free of it, and every one of your emails, if you don't have the answer, it's ultimately going to filter back down to me. So I get all of them, and I've answered them individually. I've answered them as groups. And then when it started to ravel out, I think it was with with Anthony, of trying to figure out what we're doing with our funds. I have no idea how that has gotten entrenched into their thinking.
I was about to ask that. Do they think, like, what do they think about the budget? Like,
Well, they've made it very clear that it's like, well, this will be better for us. Well, you're right, but one of the things that I have to do regularly is kind of parse out resources all the time. And if sometimes it's going to be for baseball fields. This has been a big fight for baseball fields this year, and it'll be for lacrosse and soccer with the artificial field. We share the resources that are made available to us every single year, whether it be for passive recreation, a farmer's market, whatever it is that the community wants. We have already invested tremendously for pickleball. There was a time that wasn't true, and that's why we fought for them. Now, it's time to move on to other things. Now is the time to plant some flowers at the Veterans Memorial. Now is the time to take what might be a zip tie and go plant a tree, or fix a baseball field that's in disrepair, because now they are the organization that has the greater need. If everybody could have whatever they wanted at any time, be perfect, and nobody would ever have a complaint. But that's not the world I manage. I'll apologize for maybe the tone, I guess that would be the right way, where I've been a little curt and certainly succinct with my feelings, to just sort of say, listen, I can't and do not believe I can embrace this request. I can't. You can tell me or force me or do whatever, and I will still put forth all of the reasons why I think it is a bad idea. And so if I made any of your lives any more miserable, I apologize to all of you. Thank you.
Are you talking about just tonight?
I have one comment.
Bruce, okay.
The gentleman who stood up and said that he stays home when it's 15-mile-an-hour wind, if we put windscreens up, he's staying home when there's 15-mile-an-hour wind, with or without windscreens.
Bruce for the win.
Bruce
for the win.
Just to see like what temperature it would be like. Well, just stay home. Like, if it was raining, if it
I
was
don't
raining,
think
I'm not
the
playing
impact
ball.
of the windscreens will solve their problem.
Yeah. Also, one thing that stood out to me is also when they were speaking at the very end, when they brought up something about maintenance, they were like, well, we have to clean up the fields because no one's cleaning them. Like, I was like, oh God, here we go. So like they was already talking about like how they're not being even without wind screens up. They're complaining about how they have to clean off the fields themselves right now because it's not being done to their standard. And once they said that, I was like, all right, I see where this is going. So for me, it was like hard no, because I think that no matter what they do, to their, right, they're gonna want more, and we're never gonna be able to maintain it to their standard.
That's just a small group of the whole
Yeah,
circle.
it was 2 years ago, I remember that meeting.
That's a vocal part.
Yeah, it was everything.
We got some other emails that were much more pleasant.
Balanced.
Yes.
The social club, when do they renew again? When does that come up for them?
It's like next.
Is there a summer session for them?
Through.
It goes through September.
So what's going to happen? What do you see happening after September?
I mean, I'm not going to. My prognostication is not on the table tonight. Bottom line is let's see how things transpire and see whether it makes sense. As I've said, this whole thing goes away seamlessly with $112 for less than 50 people. And that's it. And the rest of that club would essentially be getting free permits like everybody else does everywhere else in town. That's just the way it works. That is our standard. We don't charge residents for court permits at all.
I was amazed at of all the emails I got, how many were from out of towners.
It's better than a third in this group.
But I mean, our taxpayers are paying money for these courts, and these out of towners are playing. They could play every day for what, $80 a year. If I want to,
45.
No, for an out of towner.
45.
It's 45 for the club. That's what we crafted.
But the 45 gets you what, 30 to 40 hours a week of dedicated court time that is not available to other residents.
And how much did the town residents pay?
25.
So they're only paying.
Unless you're a senior, you pay 20.
So they're only paying $25 more. But if I want to go sit on the beach in Fairfield,
Yes.
it's going to cost me $50 or maybe $75. And if I want a sticker, it's going to be $250, $300. And they can play pickleball basically every day here for $45.
Yes.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yep.
I think we need to revisit
Nancy,
that.
am I wrong? If you play, right? Or am I wrong?
I do not play.
No, I said to Nancy.
A little bit, yeah.
I
And I played all 3 courts this spring, and they're always filled, and it's really amazing. You know, and it's not just seniors playing or adults; it's families and teenagers, college kids. I've seen. I mean, not playing well, but it's an easy entry game, right?
Okay.
Of course, you can get really good.
Yeah.
We've always been about recreation. You know,
Yeah.
everybody plays.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to play at an elite level, you go to elite places.
Yeah. What was that guy saying? He's like, I was number 6 in Connecticut for racquetball.
That guy was funny
No,
because he said if you kept playing, you could
Okay.
go,
All right.
go from an intermediate to an advanced, and I'm thinking, well, I don't think I'll ever be
No.
in first place.
I think
Okay.
just
Okay,
one last thing I'll say
Go-
about that.
go ahead, Rod.
And my biggest qualm beyond the fact that obviously it would take a significant amount of money and resources from the Parks Department. The whole liability piece of that concerns me. I mean, like if one of those breaks off, regardless of if they do purchase it and they do get it installed, if one of those breaks off, right, let's say when there's a Little League game and that thing goes flying somewhere, I don't know, hits a spectator, at the end of the day, that's going to come back onto the town. I don't see how it doesn't. And even if it isn't, if it ends up in a park somewhere, that comes down to the town being responsible to clean it up.
If one of them breaks off.
That was the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Yeah.
You mean if we put it all on them? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, who's responsible for liability? Because that's a real thing.
Putting it all on them, 2 words, dog bark.
No, I know. We've been burned before.
How'd that work out?
It still exists. It's now ours.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
Right. We ended up inheriting it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving on. So, few things. D, that dirt pile. What is going on with that?
Dirt pile's been moved. The pile of dirt has been up there since last summer. It's actually to finish the landscape grading around the Tashua courts. Every single time we'd go out to fill in the ruts, it'd rain and wash them out again. So it was just like this never-ending cycle. So the last round of stuff before winter hit went out there and never got moved. That's on me. As soon as it's like, can you move the dirt pile? Send somebody up there to move the dirt pile because we're still not done filling in the ruts. So it's out of the way. It clearly was an obstacle, especially when the schools go up there to play and try to access that parking lot. So we'll eventually fix those ruts.
Okay. And the other correspondence I got was that, is there a big drop off, a slope down to the courts?
Well, if you use the path, no. If you go directly over the hill, yeah. But there's never been a path there. So you sort of enter into the corner. You enter into the corner of the
Okay.
of
So
the
so
courts.
there's a way around it.
There is.
Okay.
It's just, but not if you decide to go over the top of the mountain.
Okay. Okay. And for those of you who haven't been up to Indian Ledge in a while, it's amazing to see the size of that turf field that's going in. It looks really, really great. And they've planted some, what would you say, there were cherries?
Crabs and pines.
Really nice border shrubbery and trees, and it looks really, really good up there. The old softball field. I stood by the outfield fence, which it's nice black fencing. It looks very professional, and it's kind of like a green monster all the way around because it's not very deep, the outfield, or great distance. And I could barely see the other side. It just looks huge up there. How much more turf is that?
Going all the way.
At the very top.
The softball field,
Yeah, the old
and the lights are already there. They use the old poles, right? The old wooden poles there. So that was
Yeah.
good.
Well, those poles are
How much more
bulletproof.
turf is that going to be than a regular football field?
I don't know how many square feet. It is actually more turf, but it's in a
It's a
pie-
weird shape,
It's
'cause
a
it's a
weird
baseball
shape.
field-y.
Yeah. So I mean, if you were to reallocate the square footage, it'd be gigantic. It'd be bigger than the soccer field, soccer number 2 at Indian Ledge. But to be able to get the depth and the ability to play baseball, which was a key issue for us, we had to truncate some of the field size. I think it's like 9. I think it's 9v9 soccer, lacrosse, and field hockey will be permanently placed out there. So you certainly can play some games out there, and 9v9 is pretty much the greatest number of participants.
But if you're not playing a formal baseball game or whatever, you
You
could
can
have
do whatever you want.
multiple practices there
you
at the
could
same
do
time.
whatever you want at the same time because it's huge.
In different organizations at the same time.
Yes,
you
you
could have
could.
cheerleaders in a corner.
Yes,
or
you
if you're-
could. That's our hope. I mean,
and
that's
it's
always
lit.
been our hope.
It's lit, so it gives you an extra couple hours at night.
No, it's really big. I'm
No,
really happy.
Very impressive. I suggest you drive up there and take a look, because I think it would be interesting for you to see before they put the turf down, just how much stone and how much work they've done up there. So good job on that so far. Okay. Anything else under new business? Okay, superintendent's report. We got a copy of that from Matt. Any extra questions for DUIs here?
When do you anticipate the work for the rails to trails from Whitney to Old Mines to be finished?
I would suspect less than a month at this point. It's going along beautifully. Great contractors we have working on that. Every problem, they call us immediately, take photographs, address it promptly, and keep on going. So, yeah, that's going along very well. Surprisingly enough, maybe we just hit the timing right. Not getting a lot of pushback on the closure. It's been remarkably restrained and respectful. So we're very happy with the progress and the way the response has been from the general public.
Okay, anyone else? All right, divisions reports. You were sent the report from Chief Ranger Chapman and from Noreen at Recreation. Anything that Dimitri can clarify for you? No? I assume the parks are getting a lot busier. And how many rangers did you? 3 new rangers? 4 new rangers? All part-time?
Yeah, they're all part-time, and they're now in training, so that we can get them actually, fully integrated into the system.
Good. So obviously you were quite short then, if you were 4 rangers short.
Makes it a little challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. All right.
Just one little tidbit for you all. So finally, actually last week, we finally signed the contracts for Tashua Pool. So that is locked and loaded, and it is happening finally. So come Labor Day, Beach Memorial is ready to go. The splash pad will be removed and replaced. That one should go relatively quickly. The new splash pad at Tashua, and then the full reconstruction as well begins at Labor Day for opening of 2025.
Where's the splash pad going?
Where the old kiddie pool was, in the rear corner.
Smart, yes.
Yeah.
Be more of a kidney shaped out there instead of just being stuck in the corner. So there'll be a lot more, that's interesting, kiddie pool.
And a lot of that at Tashua is reconstruction, is underground piping.
Oh yeah, the greater majority of it is. I mean, the overall scope of the work is we're actually changing the depth of the pool and the deep well. The main drains are being replaced, new liners, the skimmers, all the way around. We're saving the stainless steel. It was an area we were able to realize a great deal of savings by not just throwing it away. So we're going to have it re-piped internally. All the decks will be replaced. All new features like stairs, ladders, chairs, all of that stuff. Total reconfiguration of the building itself. You sort of will come up to the concession stand where the lifeguard room is currently, so people will be able to get their food and drink there. And then there will be the bathrooms, showers. Will be like actually a hallway of sorts, an alleyway where you can go between the outside and the inside, and the restrooms would be accessible on either side of that hall. Then the center of the pool will actually have the lifeguard station that has a center view of the entire pool. So put a window in there, so whether they're literally at their station or not, you can see what's actually happening. And then after that will be the mechanical room and a chemical storage area.
Be a diving board?
No.
Even with the deeper well?
No, it's the well is actually getting filled in. We can't make it deeper.
You don't need it without a diving board. You don't need it deep.
Yeah, well, we couldn't do it because of of code compliance, of health department standards. So we knew we had issues with the main drain. So one of the things that has always been a very challenging thing for us is manning the deep end of the pool. So you have to have exponentially more lifeguards present, blah, 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 blah. So the decision actually is to make, since we're going to be changing the main drain, is to make it unidepth. So it's all going to be 5 feet. But we'll be able to isolate lap swimming away from where the children will be entirely. So, but it's all one depth, so we won't have to actually have quite as many lifeguards present, which will be very helpful. And it also enabled us to downsize a lot of the pumps and, of course, the chemical usage. So all the way around, it's hopefully a good decision of for operations.
Heck, I'm old enough to remember the high dive.
Me too. Me too. I didn't like it.
Yeah, a lot of belly flops on that high dive. Yeah.
Will the slide stay?
Yes, the slide is just going to be reoriented, so it's not going into the lap lanes anymore. So it'll go directly into what is currently the deep well, but it'll be 5 feet there.
Okay, anything else? No? If not, do we have a motion to adjourn?
You okay?
Second? Everyone? Okay.
Nice.
All right, all in favor? So moved. Deb, they're not all like this.
It was I called you the next day. I was like, I might.
Right into it.
It's all good.
No food trucks. So what is it? So what it, like, just ask me what kind of food.
Nice to meet you.
Stuck it out for this?
There's 22 different vendors.
And then the other thing too, when I brought it up,
You might actually want.
old business.
I'm sure she's.
Oh, will you ask him about what's
I
going
love
to
you,
be?
but I love you, but don't be stupid.
You know what, every 2 years she says,
What do you want to know?
Excuse me, guys, sorry. Good night.
There's a couple of
Oh, God. Good night, ladies.
trails in there, but Davidoff actually has a playground into it. Probably the
Tot lot.
Yes,
Yeah.
the Jones Estate, which is actually part of Davidoff.
did Vicky.
But it's, it's another one of our many theme parks, and there's a few trails walking.
So is there any, what it entail to connect
She knows.
Glen or Dale Road?
Wouldn't have said that.
You just get a, what do you call it? You just put together an initiative to just blaze it through, that's all. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of